Good morning, here's Kramer's Corner with the daily technical update. It is Wednesday the 12th of July and we'll start with S&P 500 that moved higher yesterday, and it seems like the double top pattern is not really unfolding. Of course it's not yet confirmed, but with the move up yesterday it is likely that it will not materialize. So I will remove this one and just keep an eye on it. There's still room up to about 4,500 and higher, so keep an eye on that. Nasdaq also a little bit higher. I'll keep my double top pattern indicator there, only because the 15,265 resistance is a very strong resistance for the Nasdaq 100. What you should look out for, both on Nasdaq 100 but also on S&P 500, is that will RSI break above this falling trend line here, the short-term falling trend line down here on the daily chart. If it does, well, then we are likely to see higher levels on both indices. In Europe, we have seen most indices bouncing off supports. Let's remove that one because it seems like it's the 15,482 support, and we are probably about to bounce back towards the 16,000. I will add the Ichimoku cloud again. We are in the cloud, and a close above 16,000 will mean a close above the cloud, above the 55 moving average, and then we could be back in bullish trend and sentiment. More or less the same picture on AX Amsterdam, above the cloud here, bounced off 748. What is interesting, when it hits this trend line, that is kind of a pivot for bulls and bears, well, then we could move back above to test 777. Really interesting level. And CAC40 finally. Still struggling a little bit, but also a strong bounce. But I think it will be a range bound here for the next couple of weeks, really. So that's I believe CAC40 will be fairly boring that way. Let's jump to the commodities. Gold is still slowly climbing higher after 4 minutes bottom reversal. There is potential up to 1963 short term, whereas the silver is really struggling for momentum here, hovering around this falling trend line. So keep an eye on that. Can it actually take off and move above 2350? That is the key question. But interesting development in the oil market, where we have the Brent oil yesterday closed above 78.66, which seems to be a little bit of a resistance level here, and we are currently above the cloud. What is interesting mostly is that the RSI is back above 60, closed above 60 yesterday, and it's following through today. So there should be room up to around 82.50, 83, where we also have the 200 moving average coming down. We are still in this falling wedge, falling channel-like pattern here, but if it also breaks above the upper trend line here, falling trend line, well, then there could be more in store for Brent oil. On the WTI, flirting with this level here around 74 3/4, but keep an eye on here. Look at that. We have RSI above 60, so it's actually in a bullish sentiment with potential up to top 70, 77.50, possibly up to around the just below the 80, 79.80, I believe, here in the coming weeks. On the FX side, so some interesting development across the board in general, and let's start with dollar yen. Dollar yen, really heavy sell-off here, big correction, very close to touch the 38.2 retracement at 139.18. Could dip down a little bit lower to below 139, possibly down to 138.70, 80 level, where we have some strong support, and I do believe we'll see a bounce from here. What is interesting is that the RSI is currently below the 40 level, meaning we are in a bearish sentence, but the day is not over. So it's not, if we get a bounce later in the session today and it closes above 40, that could be interesting. So that's really something to keep an eye on. Also, other yen pairs, not as hard hit, but we have euro yen below 154.40 support. Could dip down to 152.20, which is this 61.8 retracement of this uptrend here since March that we talked about this past couple of days. But look out for this rising trend line here. It might bounce from that one, or maybe just dip below and then rebound. So also keep an eye on that one. And finally, when we are talking about yen pairs, we have sterling yen still holding on 179.90 support around that level, and the lower rising trend line is key. Both of them are key. On the euro dollar, euro dollar slowly taking higher towards 111 level, but there is room up to 111.80 strong resistance, and 112 around 112.50 around that level here, and the 61.8 retracement. So I believe we will see it being tested in coming weeks, but it will take, I believe it will take some time. But the uptrend is intact. And looking at the dollar index, which is actually quite interesting, broke below the 78.6 retracement, and we are, it needs to be adjusted, sorry about that. There we are, at 101.40. The key support is around 100.68, and it's likely to be tested, and that's going to be interesting. Will it hold or not? Can we finally get a close below? Well, then there is room down to around 98.60, possibly lower, to the 200 weekly moving average coming up there. So that's really something to keep an eye on. Interesting development on some of the Scandi crosses here. We have EURNOK, massive sell-off the past few days, and it seems like this shoulder-like pattern is unfolding. It is confirmed basically with a close below 1140 support. It is currently at the neckline, but since the neckline is declining, then we are looking for the valley here just prior to the right shoulder for confirmation. We also have RSI below 40, and that indicates there's potential down to 1080, which is from the peak of the head and down to the neckline, and then subtracted from the breakout. So that's 1080. However, there is some strong support around 1120, so I don't think it will be a slam dunk down all the way if it will actually move that low. But it seems like for now the trend has changed, and it's also about to change on the medium term. You can see here lower low and lower high, so there is room down further down for EURNOK. For EURSEK, Swedish krona, also a little bit of reversal here, testing the short-term rising trend line, which could be key. Maybe we could get a bounce, and will it also form a shoulder-head-shoulder pattern? It's still the jury's still out on that one, but it's really stretched this uptrend here. It didn't manage to reach 12 Swedish krona against the euro, so that's really something to look out for also. On the just briefly on the yields side, we have the US 10-year yields, a little bit of a setback. We are back below 4%, but I believe it's just a correction that could take us down to around the 38.2 retracement at 388, testing the rising trend line here, and that's going to be interesting. I believe our interest rates and bond specialist Althea, she will publish something later today with also the spreads between the short term and the longer term interest rates that are quite interesting. All right, that's all for today. A lot of stuff has happened, but let's see again tomorrow. Thank you very much.